so excited to have you here. This course has changed a lot of businesses already. This challenge has helped some people who weren't making money during this pandemic actually kill it. And so we're excited to share with you the secrets. We good? Okay.
All right. We're going to go ahead and dive right in,
Kick
Johnny?
this thing off.
All right, guys.
Shall we, Shane?
Let's do it.
All right. So, hey there. Welcome to the Easy Ads That Sell 5-Week Challenge.
So we're Johnny Vance and Shane Rickard, creative directors here at Harm Brothers, and we're thrilled to be able to spend the next 5 weeks with you, guiding you through what took us literally millions of dollars to test into.
This could speak to how badly we manage money or how meticulous we are. You be the judge. Or both.
Could be both.
Could be probably both.
So some of you guys attending this webinar might be experienced writers and marketers, and that's great. We've seen these ads, while simple in design, can still be infused with entertaining writing and branding.
Others of you may be starting from marketing square one. That's totally fine too. We'll show you all the steps you need to take your craft, to craft your sales messaging, and start running some money-making ads.
Yeah, so regardless of your experience, in the next 5 weeks, if you follow this challenge, apply yourself, and do the activities we've clearly outlined, you will have the sales secrets you need to make inexpensive video ads on Facebook and Instagram that can drive millions and millions in sales.
In this 5-week challenge, we're going to walk you through how to research, write, and create ads that are designed to get sales. While these are simple ads, they'll still take some work. But if you've got a great product and put in the necessary time and effort, we're confident that you'll end up with ads that will get you results.
So just think, wouldn't it be great if you had an ad that you made from your couch for a couple $100, that ad finally made your product profitable?
Wouldn't it be great if these ads could turn your side gig into your main gig?
And wouldn't it be great if you created an ad that drove enough sales to pay off your mortgage? That sounds awesome.
And specific, and it's happened. We've seen this exact scenario happen to our clients time and time again. Our clients and students have seen incredible results from these strategies we're going to cover in the next 5 weeks. They've made anywhere from $60,000 to $200,000 to over $440,000 with just one of these ads. We're talking one of these 15 types.
Definitely, and we can't promise you'll get the same results from your ads. That depends on you, your product and service. But if you've nailed your product or service, these ads can quickly and inexpensively let you know what messaging is working, and then enable you to put the gas on the fire and blowing up your sales, like the Hindenburg.
That is a terrible analogy, Shane.
Too soon. I probably should have
People died in the Hindenburg,
Shane.
Shane.
A human tragedy.
That is a terrible metaphor. All right, so here's what you can expect from this challenge. Before we dive into week 1, let's take a minute to talk about what you can expect from this challenge and what material will be covered.
So let's talk about what that 5-week challenge is.
So the 5-week challenge is designed to help you create simple video ads to sell on Facebook and Instagram. Some of them may work on YouTube, and we'll point those out. We created this challenge to help businesses who are in the early growth stages. Your product is nailed, but you need to drive sales immediately. That being said, we've seen these ads produce incredible results for $100 million companies as well.
Now, some of you could be in the early stages of developing a product. This challenge can still be very useful to you in learning how the market responds to certain aspects of your product, but know that this approach can take longer than an established company to see results.
Just to have a heads up, anytime we say product, we also mean a service as well. This 5-week challenge works for either one. We've seen it time and time again. After completing the challenge, you'll have several ads you can run to generate more sales. Will these ads be full of memorable characters and imaginative concepts that will define your brand for years to come? No.
Nope. Will these ads be incredibly entertaining and viral, getting millions of views organically?
Nope. Will these ads be so sexy that you can brag about them to that show-off Carl at your next neighborhood barbecue? Nope. That's probably not what you need right now anyways. Also, Carl's an idiot, so take solace in that.
Carl's the worst.
Carl is so bad.
Right now, you need simple and clear ads that sell. Ideally, this 5-week challenge is your first step towards selling your product online profitably. The ads you create over these 5 weeks will help you drive more sales and get you ready for the next phase of growth for your company. Once you've sold a lot of products and want to become more of a household name like Squatty Potty, Purple, Poopery, and Chatbooks, you'll be ready for our 14-day script writing challenge. That's our course that teaches you how to write a full Harmon Brothers script that sells really well. Then you can add in comedy, character development, and world building through our course, How to Make Your Ads Funny, and Writing Creative Branded Ads.
With that being said, even if your business grows to the point where you're ready to take on our other courses, having a blend of these smaller ads with bigger ads has proven to be more and more successful for our clients.
And critical, I would say, to our clients' success. For
More
sure.
than ever. Like,
Yeah.
you can't make content fast enough. This is the fastest way to make videos that sell.
So although Harmon Brothers, got its start with poop brands, we still can't market crap. I hate to break it to you guys. If people don't respond well to your product already, you don't need a video ad. You need to go back to the drawing board on your product or service first. No matter how good your ad is, a crappy product just won't produce long-term sales. Simple as that.
If any of you are selling crap right now, I'm so sorry.
Poop in a box isn't a good product.
Poop in a box isn't a good product. Crapsules? Could it be? Could it be a good product? I don't know.
Crapsules?
All right,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm just brainstorming here. Okay, it's also important to note that this 5-week challenge won't help you write a funny ad. The goal of this challenge is to help you sell your product, which is the best starting point for a good foundation for your brand.
So this course also will not teach you how to do ad buying for these ads. This is a video creation course only. If you do want to learn more about ad buying on Facebook, check out our other class, the Launch course. It's a really in-depth course, basically a crash course on e-commerce and marketing online. It's really great.
Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to show you what we're going to be teaching over the next 5 weeks. So we're going to be going over a lot of material, so buckle in. In total, we're going to be breaking down 15 simple ad formulas that have literally driven over $13 million in sales for our clients. If you're committed to spending at least a few hours a week on this course, you should be able to get through everything in those 5 weeks.
All right, so 2 quick notes. Note 1, we'll teach you how to make 15 different ad types, but you don't need to make all of them. In fact, some ads are inherently better for some products or services than others, and we'll point those out. The point is, you know your product best. We'll help you see the strengths and challenges of each ad, and you decide which ones to make.
All right, note number 2. Although we'll teach you several ad formulas every week, some of you may only have bandwidth to make 1 or 2 per week. That's totally okay. This challenge is meant to be a resource you can come back to over and over and over again to make more ads in the future. With that said, here's what we're going to cover.
All right, so let's go over week 1. Today we're going to be teaching you some important principles that will apply to all of our ads that we go over.
A foundation, if you will.
We'll break down the best practices for performing customer research. No matter how compelling any of your ads are, if you're speaking to the wrong audience, you'll never get the results you need.
We'll also teach principles that will help you film, edit, and design your ads to ensure your message is clear and powerful. Finally, we'll exhaustively break down the explainer testimonial ad, one of our most successful ad types to date, and actually the one we featured a little bit in that webinar.
And we're just going to go more in depth than that for sure. So for week 2, we're going to be applying those foundational principles from week 1. We'll break down the formulas for the customer journey ad, the litmus test ad, the FAQ ad, and the tipping point ad.
Week 3, we'll break down formulas for the why ad, the getting started ad, and the man on the street ad.
Then in week 4, we'll be covering some of our most successful ads with the origin story ad, huge one, the stage unboxing ad, the comparison ad, and the explainer ad.
Finally, in week 5, we'll end on covering a few more ads, the user-generated content ad, the use case ad, and the expert testimonial ad, or the expert ad. Then we'll cover the very valuable technique of how to ad hack your competitors, and finish covering any questions you have from the course. And that's it. It'll be a whirlwind of awesome content, but if you put in the work, by the end of these next 5 weeks, you'll have several ads you can use to potentially drive millions in sales.
Yeah, and as an added bonus, you'll probably learn a lot about your product and target market that you can use to improve every aspect of your marketing going forward. Now, without any further ado, let's get started into week 1.
Week 1.
All right, here we go.
Okay, it's time to lay the foundation for everything we'll teach you over the next 5 weeks. If you really take the time to perform these activities, no matter how tedious they may seem, it will drastically improve the performance of all the 15 ads you're going to make. I promise you. We doubt these foundational principles all the time at Harmon Brothers. When we skip them,
It never ends well.
the sales kind of suffer.
All right, let's talk about getting to know your customer. Before we ever start making a single ad, we ask this question: who is my customer? Every ad we write at Harmon Brothers starts with this question. If you don't know who your customer is, it's really hard to figure out what sort of content they'll respond to.
So today we want to help you figure out the right way to appeal to your audience and do it quickly. So we're going to cover why it can be easy to lose touch with your audience, how to figure out what your audience really wants, where your product fits into the market, and how to create a sales pitch your audience will respond to.
All right, so let's talk about the curse of knowledge.
Dun, dun, dun.
Unfortunately, many businesses only think that they know their target audience. One of the first things we do with a new client is talk to them about their customer base. And it's surprising how often their assumptions about their customers are off.
I'm serious when I say this. Like, sometimes companies that are doing millions and millions a year, they think they know what their audience is, and they're totally off base. And then we're able to show them, oh no, it's actually, this is your money-making audience right here. So, like, you could be years into the process of business and still not know who your perfect audience is.
Yeah.
Okay, the problem is, a lot of times, the reason why this happens is that a founder or CEO will suffer from the curse of knowledge. It's a term coined in the book Made to Stick.
Great book. If you haven't read it, go read it.
It's really sticky. So basically, when you spend all day, every day with your product, you are too close to it. You are a nerd about your product. It's hard to remember what it's like to not know about it. As a result, you end up focusing on the wrong features in your script or talking too technically for the average person to understand. You're like that nerd at a party that just won't shut up. You just annoy the crap out of everyone. Anyways,
don't be that guy. But if there's one thing that makes our ads effective, it's the fact that we take the time to really get to know the target audience and put ourselves in their shoes. We try to become the customer ourselves, using the product and experiencing that aha moment when we really get the value of the product.
So if you want to get to know your target audience, the best way is to start is by listening to what customers have to say about your product. The fastest way to do this, read your product reviews.
Yeah, your reviews are full of tons of incredible insights into what people love or hate about your product, what problems it solves for customers, and sometimes what motivates them to buy. They're a treasure trove of marketing insight you should tap into. So if you want to get a pulse on your target market, hop on Amazon, Google Shopping, Facebook, your website, anywhere else that people have reviewed your product or business. Read the good and the bad and track common themes, elements, or phrases. The customers are teaching you how to sell them more product.
In the end, though, reading your reviews is not so much about trying to reinvent your product as it is about better understanding your audience. Again, until you know who your target audience is, you'll never be able to effectively market to them.
All right. So
I will add a note here. If you don't have a lot of reviews, you could look at your closest competition, look at what they hate and what they love about their product. And we'll go more into depth about this later.
Yeah, and activities. All right, so let's talk about testing out your sales pitch. One of the biggest obstacles you're going to face is when making these ads is figuring out the best way to pitch your product to people. Once you have a good feel for your target audience, you'll need to figure out how to quickly and effectively convince people to buy. For that, there's no better way to learn that than to test your pitch out with real life people. Just talking to people and telling them the pitch about your product.
Real live breathing humans. So first, you'll need to boil down your message to its most simple form. Whether it's a video ad or a live in-person pitch, most people don't have the time or attention span to hear about every perk or feature your product has to offer. So we're going to break down a simple sales pitch. They have three key components. First is the problem. What pain does your target audience deal with that motivates them to buy?
Yeah, the next is the solution. How does your product solve that problem? Your pitch needs to convince people that your product is the right solution for their problem, or they won't be interested in buying. And then the last is your value proposition. What makes your product or business better than the competition? How does it stand out? In other words, why should people buy from you? This can be anything from a better price, superior quality, to a noteworthy cause.
If you've done your homework, your problem and solution should be pretty straightforward. You just have to figure out how to present them clearly and concisely. Your value proposition, on the other hand, can be a little bit challenging.
Yeah, when deciding on what value proposition to make or include in your pitch, it's important to think about what sort of market your product is in. One easy way to think about this is to use the red ocean, blue ocean analogy outlined in the book, Blue Ocean Strategy.
So the question is, are you in a red ocean or a blue ocean? So to explain this metaphor, sharks can smell blood for miles. And when there's blood in the water, they come from all over to feed. Businesses aren't all that different. If your product is something new, the only decent solution of its type in the market, you're in a blue ocean. This is like Squatty Potty in 2015. No other toilet pooping stool like them at the time. So blue ocean, there's no blood in the water yet. You're creating a new category. You're the only shark out there.
Yeah, in this sort of situation, you don't really have to differentiate yourself from your competition. Your solution is already unique, so your value proposition and solution could be one and the same. Your message should just clearly show how much better life will be with your product.
On the other hand, if you've got a lot of competitors who are selling something similar to your product, you're in a red ocean. Think purple mattress. When we launched them, there were tons of mattresses.
These tough to needle.
At least for, I think people have been sleeping on mattresses for at least a few decades.
But yeah, there's even a ton of bed and box ones too.
The sea's full of sharks in a red ocean. You're fighting to get a piece of the action.
So here in this case, you need to differentiate your business from the competition. Rather than just focusing on how much better life will be with your product, you need to sell people on why they should buy from you instead of your competitors.
There's one more scenario. Although your product may have competition, if the market doesn't actually know about your competition, then you can still treat your product like a blue ocean. We had a company that we marketed for called BedJet. It was this heating and cooling device for your bed. There were some minor competitors, but nobody knew about them, so we didn't mention them. A blue ocean has less to do with how many competitors you actually have and more to do with how many perceived competitors your audience thinks you have. So if they're not big enough, don't bring them to the attention of the masses.
Yeah, in this situation, you still want to present your product as the solution to their problem, the only one out there, but also make sure your message clearly points out what's your differentiator, why they should go with you. That way, if your customer does research alternatives to your product and finds the competitors, they'll at least know why yours stands out of the pack.
All right, so the next step is practicing your pitch. Once you figured out your pitch, problem, solution, and then the differentiator, value proposition, you're going to test it out on people who are in your target market but are unfamiliar with your product. So you're going to pitch your product, let people look over things, and then ask them for feedback.
Yeah, in particular, you want to watch for the aha moment. And what we mean by that is that moment when someone's eyes light up and they truly get the value your product offers. Until your viewers have that moment, they're still trying to figure out your product and what it does. And the confused customer never buys. So you need to have each viewer of your video have an aha moment.
So if you want your ad to sell, you'll need to figure out what that aha moment is. It is the golden moment. That's the money-making moment. And then you need to figure out how you can make that work visually in your ad.
And we talk a lot about that in the different videos. So
Yeah.
we go over different ad types.
In addition to looking for that aha moment, you want to ask questions like,
What was your first impression of the product?
how much would you pay for the product?
What do you like most about the product?
What do you dislike about the product?
Is there anything about the product that you found confusing?
Is there any question or concern that would keep you from buying this product?
The feedback may not be what you want to hear, but take it all seriously. Sometimes negative feedback might be a sign of something you need to address in your script or something that your product designer might need to change. Other times it might indicate that the person isn't actually part of the target market you're going for. Either way, you'll learn a lot.
Important note, reviews only reflect what the customer values after they purchase your product.
Or often do. Yeah. Not
Often.
Yeah.
They don't always reflect what value proposition drove them to initially purchase. So the initial aha moment should never be excluded from messaging. And this was an aha moment for us because, sometimes the data will tell us one thing, but then we'll forget what it was about the product that made us buy it in the first place. And if you omit that, listen to that voice in your head and listen to the people that you're interviewing that are saying, oh, that's amazing, that's what sold me. And make sure you weave that into the message of your ads.
So if you have a list of things that you find in your reviews that are important to people, and you have your aha moment that is not in this list, make sure that aha moment is still in your messaging hierarchy. And we'll talk about that in the research section in a second.
Definitely.
So with all that said, let's dive into the research section. All right, so we're going to go into activity 1, collecting reviews. We're going to walk you through this activity with our client. We did for our client Lumi. We actually did this in advance, so we're going to show you a video of how we did it. But then we'll take questions immediately after this video. So go ahead and type any of your questions you have into the chat, so you have them and we can answer them afterwards. Let's go ahead and do it.
Roll clip. Okay, so we're going to jump right into activity 1, collect reviews. It says collect at least 200 reviews of your product. For now, just look at positive reviews, so those are 3 stars or higher. If you don't have 200 positive reviews, look at all your reviews and enough reviews for similar products from competitors to get to 200 reviews. So in this case, we're going to be focusing on Lumi, which is a natural deodorant that actually works. It's one of our clients.
They're awesome.
They're great. Wearing it right now. As you read through the reviews, take note of repeated key phrases or concepts people focus on in their reviews and add them to a Google Sheet like this one. Look for reviews that cite why they like it or they didn't, not just that they liked it or didn't. And then the final note here is that you can look on Amazon, Google, Facebook.
Pretty much anywhere you have reviews.
Yeah.
We like to start with Amazon if you have any kind of decent number of reviews, just because it's really easy to sort and parse through. We're going to go over to Amazon to look at the reviews for Lumi on their hero product, which is their lavender sage deodorant stick. And we're just going to go through and read some of these reviews and just start kind of picking out keywords and putting those into that Google Sheets, the other review doc, just to say, pick out how often something comes up in the reviews. It says, this item controls body odor better than any other natural product I've tried. So we're going to come over here to our Google Sheet, and then we're going to start typing in here. Johnny's going to do this here of what the key phrase is, which is a natural deodorant that actually works, right? Or that works, right? And then over here in the frequency column, we're just going to put a 1 because this is the first time it's been mentioned. But as we go on to the next reviews, if that comes up again, Johnny would change that to a 2 so you can keep track of how frequently that actual value comes up in the reviews. So let's move on to the next one.
I've become more conscious of chemicals and heavy metals in products in the last year. Following my daughter's autism diagnosis, I tried aluminum-free Dove deodorant, and while I love the smell, I felt it did nothing for body odor. I've never been one who struggled with body odor and occasionally would forget deodorant with little to no smell, but I started a detox and started having horrid BO as a result. So she switched to naturals, not working. So failing deodorant and new body odor were not a good combo. I saw several ads for Lumi and contemplated for some time. I had smelled countless natural deodorants and could not get beyond the smell to make the purchase. This came at the beginning of this week. I ordered unscented, and it is truly just that. Okay, so here's one. So
truly unscented, I like that.
Truly unscented. I used it in the morning, and it lasted through the day, including through a rigorous workout. So lasts all day.
Lasts all day, yep.
I did not notice any BO smell. I was amazed. I would certainly recommend you give this product a try. Okay, cool.
And then I would even say from that, this is a little bit inferring there, but no heavy metals or no heavy metals.
Yeah. That she...
Chemicals or metals.
Yeah, no chemicals or metals. This third one, okay, I freaking love this deodorant and I will definitely continue to buy again, but I don't like the smell I got, so I will try a different scent for sure. All he says is he loves this deodorant and that doesn't give us anything specific, so let's move to the next one.
Okay, this one says, as advertised, highly recommended. It just plain works for a long time on various, even the most sensitive body parts.
Okay, we got already something there. So works for a long time. I'm going to add that to last all day. And then works on sensitive areas. Cool.
Having sensitive skin and being one who does not want to inflict unnecessary harm on my fellow earthlings or this planet, I choose very carefully, just as each of us votes with our palates, preferences, and wallets. Now to get down and dirty, I apply various scented Lumi products to underarms, under breasts, lady parts, sometimes to my feet, and long super humid summers. Stays on long, easy to forget it's there, then washes off easily, no gummy anything, and it doesn't transfer any clothing. Yay, Lumi team, good job.
Okay, great. So
that one's loaded. Tons, yeah, so, that's a really solid one.
Works anywhere on the body.
Add another one to stays on long.
Okay, lasts all day. 3, okay, cool.
And then we've got one that washes off easily, no residue, probably is what I'd say on that one.
/ no residue. Yeah, that's a big one for, I know some other natural deodorants just get into clothing and stuff.
Doesn't transfer to clothing, which kind of is all the, kind of combines that last one a little bit.
Hopefully that's a good slice of how to do this, how to parse some of these reviews. We are going to go ahead and do 200 of these.
Keep in mind, this does take a long time, for the initial time. This is this whole research section is kind of the foundation, all of where you're going to pull a lot of information to how to construct your ads and how to message certain things in each type of ad. So this part will take a little bit of time because you're kind of gathering in as much information about your product as you can from consumers and fresh people who are seeing it for the first time. So don't be discouraged if this takes a bit of time to get through it all.
So now that we've collected all our reviews, we're going to keep going. Once you have your list of terms, group similar phrases and concepts, then click Data, Sort, and sort by the frequency column. Look through your list and see if you can identify any surprising terms or trends in your data. So let's go over to our sheet here. So we actually collected several hundred reviews through a software called Having an Intern. It's great.
Recommended if you can afford the software. Makes really monotonous tasks awesome.
Breeze by. You can also, hire someone on Fiverr to web scrape and stuff, but that's an easy way of doing it too. We're going to sort this by frequency, and then we'll see kind of what rises to the top. And then here I'm going to just do the sum of all of that. So we have about 919 reviews. And then the top review, or the top value prop, is definitely natural deodorant that actually works.
Yep, and then like use on armpits, which that's kind of like an obvious one. But I think aluminum free, no toxins is definitely something you'd want to utilize in your messaging if that's such a big one to people, because that's kind of why people go to natural deodorant anyway. Lasts all day, obviously, is the next one, and that's a big one that I definitely think you want to lean into, especially in the natural deodorant world. That's a big thing. It lasts all day.
Right, and that may be some help us clarify that it actually works. Like couple that with, in fact, it lasts all day. You don't have to reapply. What we're going to do is we're going to repeat activity 1, but this time you'll be collecting 50 reviews from your closest competitor. Ensure that you only look at negative reviews, so under 3 stars.
So we're going to go over here to Lumi's closest competitor, which is Native. We're going to go on their most popular product, which is coconut and vanilla. There we go.
That's what it is.
So we're just going to go down and we're going to get all the negative reviews, and then we'll start right here. It says, not an antiperspirant. Smells nice until you sweat. Then you smell like coconut body odor. If you don't sweat, it may work for you. Which is kind of funny because I feel like that's kind of...
If you're not a human, it may work.
So how would you classify that, Johnny?
I'd say you stinks when you sweat.
Stinks when you sweat.
Yeah. Same process, but you're going to do this for your negative reviews too. And hopefully you'll see some of their blind spots where you shine.
That's the whole purpose of this activity, is to show areas where like you have a strength that your competitors might have a weakness, because you might want to lean more into those areas where you have a strength and your competitors are kind of coming up short, because that can be a really big contrast point for consumers that might be debating between buying 2 products, or just maybe they're a user of a competitor product and it might motivate them to switch.
Alrighty, any questions?
Questions on activity 1. You don't have to have questions, but if you have them, we'd like
Just
to
put them in
answer
the chat if you do. Any questions, Kent?
I have some software questions about which editor to use.
Okay, some people are asking what editor do we use or what editors to use. We're actually going to get to that a little bit later today, so we'll answer
keep watching.
in depth everything.
All right.
Okay, if not, no questions, we're going to go on to activity 2, the 20-second sales pitch.
Again, we recorded this in advance. Ask your questions as we roll the clip.
All right, so activity 2, the 20-second sales pitch. Write a 20-second sales pitch using the following format. So first you start with the problem, the main problem that your product solves, described in a way people can identify with. Okay, so for Lumi, it's kind of this twofold problem. Aluminum deodorants trap toxins in your pores.
Which is non-natural deodorants, right?
Right. And then natural deodorants just don't work.
Or they might just be weak.
What do we write? Something like that in our note stock here. So the problem, aluminum deodorant traps toxins in your body, and natural deodorant doesn't work.
So going to the solution, show how your product solves the problem. We have the problem of like natural deodorant doesn't work, or it has toxic like aluminum and chemicals inside of it with a non-natural deodorant. So I think it's just simply Lumi is, a natural deodorant that actually works, right?
Yeah, okay. So natural deodorant that actually works. That was a really big point that we saw in the reviews anyways.
Yeah, they were like surprised by being a natural deodorant how effective it was, because they're used to natural deodorants that kind of don't work great.
It would help to be a little more specific here. So Lumi is a natural deodorant that actually works, controlling odor for 72 hours. Okay, and then the final note here is value proposition. So it's this idea of what makes your solution better than other solutions. This applies to a product in a red ocean. So Lumi, how is it better than aluminum or other natural deodorants? So those have aluminum.
Right.
and harsh chemicals like baking soda. So we could say, like, instead of having harsh chemicals like aluminum and baking soda, Lumi uses, what's it called?
Mandelic acid.
That's right, mandelic acid. That kind of sounds a little harsh.
Yeah, acid sounds kind of harsh, but so mandelic
It uses acid.
uses acid to make your pits smell great. So I wonder if we just put, because mandelic acid is something that is found in almonds, which I feel like they could soften it up by like saying something like, instead of using baking soda or harsh chemicals, Lumi uses mandelic acid found in almonds to stop body odor.
I love it. Okay, so let me write this out. Instead of using harsh chemicals like aluminum and baking soda, Lumi uses mandelic acid, which is naturally found in almonds, to safely stop BO. Okay, let's read that. Instead of using harsh chemicals like aluminum and baking soda, Lumi uses mandelic acid, which is naturally found in almonds, to safely stop BO.
Just moving on to the next section here, it says, combine each of these 3 pieces to create an elevator pitch, something short and simple enough you can tell someone on an elevator before they get off at their floor. Read it aloud and refine it until it flows naturally and you feel comfortable delivering it. So basically taking the problem, solution, value proposition, and jamming them into one master sentence.
Yes. It's like Legos.
And I think the easiest way to do this is literally put the sentences together first and then just start trimming stuff or combining sentences, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's read how all this flows together. We may need to do a little bit of tweaking. Aluminum deodorant traps toxins in your body, and natural deodorant just doesn't work. Lumi is a natural deodorant that actually works, controlling odor for 72 hours. Instead of using harsh chemicals like aluminum and baking soda, Lumi uses mandelic acid, which is naturally found in almonds, to safely stop BO.
It's definitely a big run-on sentence at the time. What if we just said Lumi uses mandelic acid, naturally found in almonds, to stop BO?
Lumi uses mandelic acid, naturally found in almonds, to safely stop BO. Okay, so it's less of a disconnect. Cool. I think that's ready to test on some people.
All right, everybody. Welcome back from Activity 2. So we got a couple questions that we're going to answer. The first one is saying, he basically says, what was his name again, Ken?
Michael Spencer.
Michael Spencer asked the question of I sell the same product from the same supplier as basically all my competitors. So you might be drop shipping this or having a white labeling the same product. So this is a really great question. One thing that you would have to do is differentiate yourself in some way that you can differentiate yourself. So if you have the same product, the only way you have to differentiate yourself is either through beating them a little bit on price and maybe a little bit better on value, or the customer service. Whether it's you have higher satisfaction from customers, you have better response times to people with questions, and customer service, I feel like is one that shouldn't be underplayed, because if you have a really seamless experience with a company in a red ocean environment, that speaks a lot. That's really the one way you can truly differentiate yourself if you can't budge on price. But that I would go after those things that you do have control of and seek after those reviews that speak to that value you have over your competitors.
And then just one more note, if your competitors aren't well known, you're essentially in a blue ocean anyways.
Yeah.
So you may not need to differentiate as much as you think,
Yeah.
if they aren't well known. Okay, Kent, what's the next question?
Next question, I have a subscription box company. I'm having trouble getting reviews from anyone. I only sell through my website, no Amazon reviews to look for. I've requested via email, but I get no responses.
Okay, so who is this?
This is Heather.
Okay, so Heather says she has a subscription box company. She's struggling to getting reviews. She's requested reviews. They're just not coming. She's only selling through her site right now. So this is the awesome part about reviews. Nobody is going to fact check your reviews. I know that sounds like a really sketchy thing.
That is not him telling you to be dishonest and fabricate.
I'm not saying fabricate your reviews. I'm not saying fabricate anything. But here's the thing. If you don't have reviews right now, if you have family, friends, anybody that could review your product, just record them. Ask if you can record them, transcribe their reviews. You can use these reviews in your ad as you're going and trying, showing them your product in person and recording those aha moments. Reviews have power, and we're going to show you how you can use those. Another way, we've seen people incentivize reviews before too. Hey, you want 10% off? Leave us a review here on Amazon. and then we'll give you credit towards your next one. So there are ways of doing it. It can be a little bit like pulling teeth at first, but once you get enough reviews, they just keep coming. There's a bit of momentum that happens.
And I would say if you do a percentage off incentive versus like a dollar value incentive, I would go with dollar value. So like we'll give you a $10 credit to your store or whatever it be at the equivalent, $5 credit, whatever it is for your product price point that you could afford. That feels like, oh, it's like I've already got money in the bank kind of.
Free money.
Instead of just like a percentage off. So the last question, Kent, was?
There's more, actually, now.
We're
How do you go about doing service or B2B research?
Okay, so B2B research, we're going to talk about this in activity 3, so I won't elaborate on this more, but a lot of it you're going to have to do, because there isn't a big platform for people to submit B2B, like, reviews of services. You're going to have to go out and solicit a lot more of that. This takes a little bit more of legwork, but like, those types of reviews are very powerful because they're going to be very specific to their business needs and how it will address those business needs for them, and how that'll be very applicable to other people who are in the same, in the same market.
Mm-hmm.
Heather's asking what are the right questions and how do you make sure that other people aren't just giving you the answers because they're your friend? How do you get honest reviews?
How do you get honest reviews, okay?
Yeah, so we'll take this one, and then I think we got to move on to the next activity. But so Heather's basically asking how do you make sure you get honest reviews?
It's a great question.
From family and friends. That's a great question. I like to say, guys, don't sugarcoat it. Tell me what you think. Sometimes they're just gonna not want to hurt your feelings. So sometimes going to people you don't know or people that are friends of friends, kind of thing, a step away. That's a better way of doing it. Yeah, just look for the trends. Don't take any one review as doctrine.
With too much weight, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I think
All right,
we're moving on
so
to
let's
activity
move on
3.
to activity 3, live testing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into activity 3, live testing. So this is the part where you're going to be testing your 20-second sales pitch, which we just wrote.
Yep.
And we're going to test it on 10 people in our target market. If possible, give them a demonstration of your product or let them interact with your product or service for a few minutes. Keep in mind, these don't have to be in-person meetings. You can easily do them over video calls. And we're actually going to show you an example of this over video call with a friend of ours.
We're going to go to her in just a second. We're just going to do it over Zoom. If you can do it in person, I'd say it'd be better to do it in person, especially if it's a physical product they can handle. But if it's like a service where you're running through them like a web, page or showing them how to do that, like something like Zoom or another video conferencing product would be a really good way to walk them through how it works as on the service side if it's like a web page that you wouldn't have that through. We set this up with Chelsea because she is definitely in our target market. She's definitely into natural stuff. She's an esthetician, so she's really concerned about what she puts on her skin. So she definitely fits the mold very well for Lumi. And we want to get her feedback because she's kind of that prime demographic person.
Yeah, and when we talk to her, we're going to ask her these questions. What was your first impression of the product? How much would you pay for the product? What do you like most about the product? What do you dislike about the product? Is there anything about the product that confuses you? Is there any question or concern that would keep you from buying this product? And then as she interacts with the product or watches us demonstrate it, we're going to be looking for what we like to call the aha moment. So this is like something that, like that light bulb moment when they realize that there's value in this product and maybe they want to buy.
Yeah, and we just think you should take special note as they're going through the product and they're experiencing it, if they're listening to you talk about it, take note of how they react to you and how they're reacting to the things you're saying. Those can be really key cues to help understand when kind of that aha moment flicks on and they're actually interested and it piques their curiosity to buy the product.
So as you're watching, make sure to take notes, or even better, just ask permission if you can record it, and then you can go and look back again and kind of study those aha moments.
Definitely. Chelsea on the phone?
Yeah, get Chelsea on the phone and ask her those questions.
Okay, perfect. Chelsea, thanks for jumping on with us. We're just going to go ahead and read you this little paragraph that we've written. This kind of like a 20-second summary of what the product is. Kind of digest that, and then we're going to ask you a couple questions based on that sentence that we read over to you. So Johnny's going to go ahead and read that.
Aluminum deodorant traps toxins in your body, and natural deodorants don't work. Lumi is a natural deodorant that actually works, controlling odor for up to 72 hours. Instead of using harsh chemicals like aluminum and baking soda, Lumi uses mandelic acid, naturally found in almonds, to safely stop BO.
So we're just going to go ahead and ask you kind of a series of questions based on that to get kind of your initial feedback. So what is your first impression of the product?
I don't use deodorant with any kind of aluminum. I also am a big fan of mandelic acid.
And then, so for something like this, how much would you pay for a product like this, like for a deodorant that actually worked that well and didn't have those toxins and chemicals in them?
I spend $10 on my deodorant now. It lasts about 4 weeks. So yeah,
Okay.
monthly I'd spend at least 10 to probably 20.
What do you like most about the product based on what we just read to you?
I like that it has 72-hour coverage and that it's natural and that it's a deodorant, I heard it's a deodorant. I didn't hear it's an antiperspirant. I prefer that because then your body can still release the toxins it needs to. I like all of it. I like that it's aluminum free. Like I said, I like mandelic acid. I'm all about it.
So is there anything that you disliked about the product?
No.
Is there anything about the product that we read to you that confuses you at all?
If I was a normal person who didn't know like plant chemistry, I wouldn't care about mandelic acid and then it came from almonds. Like that would mean nothing to me. If I'm a professional and I use mandelic acid and I know what it does, I like it.
Got it.
So maybe like more explanation around that instead of just.
Or you get environmentalists that are against using almonds because there's already too many almonds in almond milk, and that might turn people off.
Okay, so maybe just a little bit more like mandelic acid that's naturally derived from almonds and is gentle on the skin. Maybe even something as simple as that, right?
Or explaining why it works.
The
Yeah.
exfoliant keeps your pits nice and fresh.
Okay, is there any questions or concerns that would keep you from buying the product?
I would hate if I had to get it mailed to me. I would prefer to be able to pick it up. If I hated just deodorants, I feel like that would be hard for me because I would want an antiperspirant and a deodorant. Normal people don't want to sweat. I don't care if I sweat. So that's why I just heard deodorant and that was good enough for me because I don't like antiperspirants.
Got
But I
it.
feel like most people don't like to sweat, so they like both.
Gotcha.
So a normal person probably would be deferred to that.
Cool, that was it. Thanks, Jels. All right. Let's turn it over to some questions. We got quite a few of them. We're gonna try and rally through them. One of the questions was, where do we get this magic intern software we talked about in the video? Local colleges, just contact their marketing department and say, who do you have in your department that would love an unpaid internship? And it's remarkable.
Facebook's a great one too.
Facebook too, just post it. It's remarkable how much you can get people who want experience to do really tedious tasks. But this is actually really beneficial for them to learn like the research process.
Yep, yeah. Or your local garage sale. I hear they sell interns there.
All right, next question.
Michael Spencer says, I'm selling a pillowcase that they would really need to sleep on it in order to get it. How do I do that?
Okay, so Michael's saying he's selling a pillowcase. They'd really need to sleep on it in order to get it. How do I get those reviews? I mean, you could. There are two types of reviews. One is, I've really used this product, I love it, I've had a lot of time with that. In that case, I would send them pillowcases or somehow coax them to give you a review after they've bought your product and then just ask them how their experience was. That'll be a really rich, deep review. But then others are very like surface level reviews, like you send them to it, or I guess in this time, you could explain what the product is, show it to them over video chat. It's not as impressive as being able to like tactilely, touch it, experience it and stuff like that. But you could get more of those surface level reviews. Oh, that sounds great. Oh, it's so soft. Oh, I love it, sort of a thing.
Or you could just have people like come over, have people over your house, have like a normal pillowcase, have your pillowcase, have them lay down on the couch. Be like, I gotta show you something. I want you to get your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Here's a normal pillowcase. Here's ours. What do you like? What do you don't like? Ask those questions to them. Even just a first initial lay down on the couch, like just trying to say, I'm really trying to get feedback. And most of the times, people are very willing to like give you feedback on stuff like that. They're not like weirded out by it.
Sometimes the most annoying entrepreneurs are the ones who just hustle all the time. Yes, come over. Hey, want to see this? Kind of. Can I use you as a guinea pig, sort of a thing?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yes, Ricardo asks, do you get people's permission to use their Zoom footage or testimonial clip for your ads? Do they need to sign a waiver or anything?
Yes, so that's a great question. Ricardo asked, do you need to get people's permission to use their Zoom recording or their audio recording or just even in text form what they're saying? Yes, you do need to get their permission. We get it in a written form, which I believe we have that in the portal, our release form. It's in the portal for you guys. As well as whenever we're doing it on video or just like an audio recording, we have them say, I give permission to Harmon Brothers or whoever we're working for.
Just ask him.
To say, to use my words for this review and using it in promotional materials or marketing materials.
And that being said, if it's public domain, if they've written their review online,
You don't need to.
you don't need to. You can just quote them.
Grant asking this last question. What do you do to find those people to talk to that are in your target market?
So Grant is asking, how do you find those people in your target market that are your love group?
It's a good question. I think it depends on how niche your target market is, because if it's really niche, you're going to have to do a lot of digging and finding, like, if it's a B2B play, you're going to have to go really out of your way and actually start meeting those people and getting feedback from those people. If it's like a big product, like it has a huge market, like chatbooks, for instance, like we knew that the love group was like moms with young kids that were between like 25 to 45, I think was our love group. And that's like a really easy one. We're just like, we know lots of people in that group. So it just kind of depends on how wide your audience net is and like your love group and who they are. But just talking to as many people as possible and vetting as many people as possible. This is a little bit of the course we're talking about. It takes a lot of work. You're going to have to be uncomfortable and talking to people. Like I've done some stuff where we just went to a park and showed people a product. I am an extrovert, but even that made me wildly uncomfortable. But we got a lot of really great like feedback from people. And we're going to talk a little bit about that with some of the videos.
Go to where your product, your core demographic, your love group is. Like it could be a farmer's market, it could be, whatever non-COVID event whatever event hasn't been canceled yet. Anyways, let's keep going. So we're going to move on to activity 4, drawing conclusions here. Okay, so since we last spoke, we've shown the product to 10 different people over video calls, and we got all their reactions, and we've combined that. We didn't show you that because it would be a lot of time just watching us. And so now we're going to be doing activity 4, drawing conclusions. So it says, examine your findings from activity 1 and 3. Are there discrepancies between the main value propositions you found in the reviews versus the live testing? If the aha moment wasn't mentioned in the top value propositions you identified in your reviews doc, it's still important to include it in your messaging.
Yeah, and the reason why this is something that is really important because reviews usually reflect what customers value after they purchase a product and after they use it, and it doesn't necessarily reflect like what initially drove them to purchase it at the beginning. So it's really important to keep that aha moment in there because that oftentimes is the thing that initially drew them to purchase it. And after the fact, they're like, oh, but I appreciate this, this, and this, and I'm going to give it this review, even though it might not include that aha moment or that aha feature that really like made them excited. So it's really important you don't forget about that one, and you kind of combine the best of both from the reviews and the live reactions.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So looking at our results from the 10 interviews we did and showing people the product 10 times, we actually found that the mandelic acid had a huge impact on making people want to buy. So there's an aha moment, a visible aha moment there. That being said, we also saw that it did need a little bit more clarification. People asked questions about it afterwards.
Which, shocker, I mean, I knew what mandelic acid was, where it was derived, and its natural benefits to the skin.
And acid sounds so friendly.
Yeah, that was the thing. That was actually something that perked people's attention, but it also needed more explanation and a little bit more clarity, but it also piqued their curiosity.
And that being said, the natural deodorant that actually works messaging, that actually worked with our test audiences as well. It resonated with them. So we're going to be integrating both of those messages going forward with the easy ads that sell that we make for Lumi. Preguntas.
All right, questions. I think we're good, Kent. Am I getting the go-ahead from the producer? All right, we are. We're good. So we're going to move on, you guys. If you have any that come up as we're talking, just jot those down, put them in the chat, and we'll go over those in a bit. So now we're going to move on to the 10 commandments of filming, editing, and design. So we have outlined 10 principles of filming, editing, and design to follow for all the types of ads that we're going to cover in this course. We also use these same principles on all of our content at Harmon Brothers. So these are pretty important. So important that you might call them commandments. Hey, Johnny?
Probably. So why are the commandments important? Facebook is a brutal environment. People spend on average 38 minutes a day on Facebook. They see hundreds of posts in that time. One of them could be yours. That means you have a ton of competition for eyeballs, and Facebook users have a low tolerance for things that don't keep them engaged, meaning you can't give them any reason to stop watching, and you have to give them every reason to stay. Many of the things we'll discuss in the film, edit, and design section will be to keep your content as engaging, informative, convincing, and clear as possible. So without further ado, behold, here are the 10 commandments.
Commandment number 1, thou shalt film for 4:5 framing.
2, thou shalt not assume viewers will watch with the sound on.
3, thou shalt have a clear call to action.
4, thou shalt have good rhythm.
5, thou shalt put sales first and art second.
6, thou shalt show the product quickly and clearly.
7, thou shalt make your ads only as long as they need to be.
8, thou shalt film as beautifully as thou canst.
9, thou shalt use branded colors, images, and fonts in every ad.
And 10, thou shalt not make spam.
Okay, so we're going to dive into each one of these. These principles should be something that you reference often and are checking in to see if you're following. It's a lot to remember, so it's good to go through this checklist in order to remind you of the things that will make your ad effective while you're making those ads. We do this all the time. We ask these questions like, are the commandments, are they all good? Okay, we're great.
We go through this checklist with every video.
All right, so the first one, thou shalt film for 4:5 framing. So here we go. So 4:5 framing is a 4:5 aspect ratio, and we say that because it works best across the board on Facebook and Instagram. We typically film either horizontally or vertically, and both ways, if you're framing that for 4:5, it'll crop a bunch of the video. So you want to ensure you're filming wide enough that you don't lose important action. So one hack that we do, we recommend is if you take your phone and you go watch a Harm Brothers video. All of our videos in the last probably 2 years are framed in 4:5. You can watch it and there's a frame of how big the video is if you go full screen, and you can put tape on the framing there so you know essentially how much of it, 16:9 frame is how much of it is being cut off. Or you can just look up a 4:5 aspect ratio box on the internet and Google search, and you can take that tape. That way you know, oh, I'm filming here, this and this are going to be lost. I should go a little bit wider.
Mm-hmm. Like, to reiterate, Facebook, I think we did a study with Facebook with our ads where they're like, here's like $50,000 in ad spend. Test this with us. We're going to test a 4:5 video versus a 16:9 and then versus a square video. I believe the 4:5 video sold like 3 times better than the 16:9 video.
Yeah.
So like if you just make this one tweak to some of your ads, you could be selling much, much better. If all you're doing is, basically having that rectangular 16:9 video and you convert them to 4:5, which is just a tall square, you could be selling so much better.
Yeah, so some other things to consider with 4:5 are text considerations. You want to make sure you shoot wide enough that you will have space for subtitles, because you will always subtitle all these easy ads that sell. And you also want to create enough negative space in the frame or enough space for additional brand logos, graphics, and text callouts that you have planned in each of the shots. So it's really important to make enough space and shoot wide.
Shoot wide. Wider than
better.
you think.
Yeah.
All right, that leads us to commandment number 2. Thou shalt not assume viewers will watch with the sound on. Okay, about 85% of Facebook video is watched without sound. Always burn in subtitles or use text graphics in your videos. Like, make text as large as it can be without ruining your image. Here's a rule of thumb. Text should never be more than 3 lines or 15 words on screen at a time. Remember, people actually don't read, they skim. And if you have like a paragraph, they're not going to read it. Mm-hmm. So make sure you can watch, and then the final tip is make sure you can watch your ad without sound. So just mute it, watch your full ad, and then see if it makes sense. Make sure it doesn't lose any of the clarity, and then you'll be able to kind of see if it's clear enough for somebody who's browsing Facebook on their phone.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's move on to commandment number 3. Thou shalt put sales first and art second. This is one of the biggest principles that applies to every single aspect of what we do at Harm Brothers. We love creativity, humor, and spectacle. And poop jokes, but we never let that get in the way of the first objective of our ads for our clients, which is to sell something. That's the number one thing they want us to do, is to drive performance. So when you're making your ads, you want to ask yourself, and building these things out, is my text building the sale? If not, you cut it out. Only use call-out text that is additive to the sale or is clarifying a visual on screen. If your text on screen is distracting or unrelated to the sale, even if it's funny, we would recommend probably cutting it out.
Commandment number 4, thou shalt have a clear call to action. So many marketers are scared. They don't want to ask people to buy for fear of being off-putting or being too on the nose. However obvious, we found including a clear call to action, or CTA, increases conversion significantly. An easy way to include this is by making what we call a branded call to action or CTA end card. It will direct them to perform an action or go to a URL. So here's how to make one, just a couple steps. You start with a simple color block like this. You add your logo, you add a URL with a call to action tied to it. So this is for some children's books called Tuttle Twins. We said order your copies today. And then you can adjust the sizing so that the URL or the brand logo is the emphasis on the screen. If you want, you can add a slow shot of your product, or you can have a little bit of animation. Like I think with this one we have the button pop. But here are a couple other CTA end card examples. So you got Lumi deodorant on the left, Kizik, it's a hands-free shoe in the middle, and then Tuttle Twins on the end.
Yeah, so Kizik would get included that kind of product shot one more time in there. So yeah, super easy. Doesn't need to be super complicated. Can be done very quickly and easily.
And you repurpose these. You can repurpose these for all 15 ads.
Yeah,
that we're
so
going to teach you.
we've used the same one on Tuttle Twins, Kizik, and Lumi for 4 or 5 different ads at least.
Yeah, make it once, use it again.
Definitely. All right, so thou shalt, let's move on to the next commandment. Number 5, thou shalt have good rhythm. So you need to have a variety of shot types and shot lengths. Too many similar shots or lengths in the cut will just be boring. It needs some variety to spice it up. Watch your ad by yourself or with a fresh audience, and then ask yourself, the audience, can you read the text twice quickly or once slowly? If not, it's likely too fast or too slow. We use this rule on every single video. We want to make sure all the text that's on screen is digestible. So is there any part of the ad that's boring? If so, that means it's too slow or just not engaging enough. Then you either need to speed it up or spice it up, all right? Is there any part of the ad that's overwhelming? If so, it's either too fast or not clear enough. So slow it down or simplify your visuals. So let's go on to a couple examples of kind of showing how this would work. So this is from a carpet cleaning ad that we did for a company named Zero Res. So this first example, we're going to go watch through and we're going to talk about what's wrong with it. So that one was, the animation was on there as a review and showing the benefit, just way too crazy fast. And we actually see this a surprising amount where people are like,
so much.
Yeah.
But it's I couldn't read that once. How am I supposed to read that twice quickly or once slowly?
So,
right?
I definitely want to slow that down, give people time to process the text as well as the visual. So let's go on to the next example here. So this one is definitely probably a little too long. I read that about 3.5 times, including the Jessica at the end. And I took in the visual a long time before it was animating. So in that one, I'd probably want to find a middle ground and speed it up between those two. So it's not, getting people bored, past, scroll past. So let's move on to the next example here. So this one, we traded out a different B-roll shot. We're seeing the benefit of clean carpet. They're getting stuff on it. But the problem with that one is you see how noisy the background was of the video clip that was chosen. Even though it was a good example of a benefit they were receiving, showing hey, they're on the carpet, in their hands and knees. It was very distracting. The motion was from the text, and it was a lot going on. It was just very busy. And so it's really easy for people to get lost in that kind of busyness. So I would probably want to simplify that shot to make it more clear and easy to read. So this is kind of our last one where we kind of struck a middle ground of all those. And here's what ended up in the final ETA. Boom. That's it. So you just want to make sure whatever you're doing, you have good rhythm and you're not doing too fast to lose people, but not too slow to bore people, and it's engaging all the way through.
Just remember that. Twice slowly or twice quickly or once slowly.
Just remember, Johnny,
just remember whatever the opposite I say. All right, commandment 6. Thou shalt show the product quickly and clearly. So a general rule of thumb is to get to your product within 5 seconds, especially for these easy ads that sell. So you want to show the benefit, how the customer's life is better as a result of the product in the first 10 seconds. If you can, film your product in such a way that if the viewer only saw your product in action once, in those first 5 to 10 seconds, it will be crystal clear what it does and why it's differentiated. So we're going to show you an example of who knows what, because nobody knows what this product does by this ad. Okay, let's take a look. So this is a company called Chili Pad. That's all you would know basically from this ad. You see the product quickly. They do that, but they don't give you enough context. They didn't film wide enough. You know they didn't. And you don't know what the heck it does. You have no idea, no education here. So here is a competitor to Chili Pad. So Chili Pad, I think they do cool and heat your bed. Or I don't know if they heat your bed. I know they cool your bed.
They do both.
Okay, so this is one for a company we've advertised for called BedJet.
Okay.
So that's just like a very,
Just loops.
it loops. So you see the air coming through.
Changing the temperature.
You can explain, a little bit in the text, but the point is, like that ad, I think it drove over $500,000 in sales. Just that ad. It's just so clear, showing how BedJet blows cool air in the covers and
Lowering the
changes
temperature.
your temperature from 95 down below.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Let's move on to commandment number 7. Thou shalt make your ads only as long as they need to be. So never use 5 words when 3 will do. There's that old saying, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one instead. This is so true because distilling things down is very time consuming and very challenging, but it's so critical for the easy ads that sell format that we're going to teach you. You need to be able to say it very quickly and succinctly and not any longer than necessary. Get in, get out. Your goal is to get it out as fast as possible while getting your message across clear. So watch your ad. If there's anything that's redundant, has dead space, or confusing in any way, cut all those things out. You don't want any fluff in there. You don't want any reason for them to, this little ad is too long.
The shorter your ad, while still being clear, the better.
Yeah.
Okay. Commandment number 8, thou shalt film as beautifully as thou canst. So we're going to give you some tips here. For experienced filmmakers, they may be obvious. For new ones, these could be the difference between your ad looking like crap and your ad looking pretty awesome for a low budget. So the first one are lighting tips. So we recommend using lighting, camera lights when you can. But if you don't have any available, which you can buy some on Amazon for pretty cheap, use non-direct window light. So that means use light coming in through a window, but don't film directly outside of the window. Just kind of use the light coming in from a window as the lighting source that illuminates your product or the people you're filming.
Yeah, so like a north-facing window is probably the easiest way to say it because the sun never shines directly into a north-facing window. But you get the reflection off of all the things outside, like off of the neighbor's house or another building, and that's really soft, diffuse light, and it gives you kind of a really flattering light to film your product in. We got a couple tutorials and tips that are in the portal for you guys. And so there's going to be more in depth on this, but we're just going to go over some of the most important ones. But having a nice soft image is a really good one, and showing your product in non-harsh lighting is really important.
We filmed quite a few of these easy ads that sell without lights, even though we do have lights
here
at Harmon Brothers. We're just like, let's do it quick and dirty, and it looked great. It turned out awesome.
So the next one is audio tips. Most of the easy ads that sell can work without recording audio. But for the ads that do need audio, it's a good idea to use an external mic. There's a lot of really affordable ones that you can get on Amazon. We put links to in the portal. If you don't have mics available or it's not in your budget, get your camera or phone, whatever you're recording on, as close as you can to the source, so it gets a really clear audio signal in, and that'll help you get it definitely audible and clear as you possibly can with the
You'll still want to shoot wide. So actually, if you had another phone that you could record the sound closely to,
yeah, you could
the
use
recording app.
You could use it like a reporter would with a tape recorder.
Just get it really close.
So here's a few more tips here. We got location tips and product shots. So make sure wherever you choose to film, that it isn't distracting or busy or off-brand. That's really important to make sure it's a very clear, simple, not overly busy place. So we recommend filming on just straight, clean, colored backdrops or very simple environments that keep the viewer focused on the product. That's the best case scenario, is that the product is the main focus. So you want to film your product in a way that avoids things that are too wide or too close, and it really gets that action of the product right in the center of frame, so it's very, very clear. And one of the ways that people do this, and we do this all the time at Harm Brothers with some bigger cameras and nicer lenses, is getting a blurry background and the products in focus in the foreground. And we've included a link in the portal of how to achieve this look with like DSLR cameras or mirrorless cameras that have bigger sensors. That's a way you can get that. You can even do some of that like in photography still, like on phones with like the portrait mode on like some Android and iOS phones. So there's definitely ways to get that look for an inexpensive manner.
And if you're a service, that's probably your best bet. Like not filming everything across go for clean backgrounds as well, but you may need to lean on that blurry background a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right, so a little bit more filming tips. You don't have to create everything from scratch. Rightly so, you may have heard us say that you can make these from your couch with footage you already have. That's exactly right. If you have footage, you can repurpose it for these ads. You can also get footage from a stock video site like Envato Elements. I swear we are not paid affiliates of Envato Elements. It just changed how scrappy we're able to do things at Harmon Brothers. So Envato Elements, get this. You can get stock footage, images, graphics, sound effects, and music for your ads, all for $16.50 a month. It's incredible value. And we made complete ads from this site. It's been well worth it.
That have driven hundreds of thousands of dollars from just like this site, essentially.
Thanks, Envato.
Thanks, Envato. All right, so let's move on to some editing tips for you. So at Harmon Brothers, we use Adobe Premiere as our primary editor. Sometimes we use Final Cut or as well as DaVinci Resolve. The DaVinci Resolve is the best free editor has a lot of advanced features. The other two you have to pay for on a subscription or a one-time purchase, so they're a little bit more expensive. But if you don't want to go into something advanced, you want something very, very simple, Johnny's edited entire Easy Ads That Sell on iMovie. He's also done it on a phone app called InShot that's free in the App Store. They're great, powerful little editors you can do on an iPad or a tablet or a phone that are really, really great. And it's remarkable what you can do with just your phone. That most, like 90% of people who are watching this are going to have a powerful smartphone that can do this.
Yeah, Shane gets mad when the ads that I make on my phone work sometimes better than than the ads that professional editors have made. So you could totally drive sales making ads from your phone in InShot.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one, number 9. Thou shalt use branded colors, images, and fonts in every ad. So even though these ads don't brand it in a huge way, there's really simple ways you can use the brand to get it in there, like using logos, using watermarks like in the corner, or during product introductions, having those big like color blocks or those things present. If you're going to use a watermark, so it's a semi-transparent like logo up in the corner, it's best to use a PNG file because that allows you to have a transparent background. If you use a JPEG, it'll show up with like a big color or a big essentially like white block behind it. So use a PNG file if you can. So you can also use color block backgrounds for text, like this example here we have with Kizik. So we've got this, the Kizik brand color for the text and the actual logo itself. It just makes it stand out a little bit more, creates a bunch of free, clean space to put that text where it's nice and clear. And also, another thing you can use these color blocks for is if you didn't obey commandment number 1 and shoot wide enough, you can use branded color blocks to widen your shot out a bit. And I may or may not have done this on a campaign for one of our clients called Avast in this scene right here. We've got an actress who's diving from one end of the screen to the other, and she's going to go hide behind that car on the left. But our action was too wide, and we couldn't really see what was going on, so we had to widen it out a bit like this. And so we added this color, the Vast logo and the block, kind of color blocks to widen that shot out. So you saw more of her diving action rolling, and then you could go see her hide behind that car a little more clearly. So it's kind of a cheat to get you a little bit more width because if you do your edit and it's like, oh man, this action just doesn't make sense. A cheap way to do that is to just white it out with those color blocks.
And it's a good way if you're already sitting on footage that you can't convert to 4:5.
You can still use it.
Use this hack.
Yeah. So and the last thing here is use brand fonts whenever you can. If your brand or the brand you're working for doesn't have one, you should go find a clear font that is easy to read and just really clear. But whatever you do, just please Please don't use Comic Sans. Please don't. It's
It's
not
a funny text.
It's not.
Comic Sans. I would use Comic Sans. Shane hates it. So
Okay.
do with it what you will.
And then always have a CTA end card like Johnny was mentioning before. We showed you how to do those. Those are great areas to be in big branding elements like logos and colors and using their brand font for any of the text on screen.
Okay, this leads us to Commandment 10, thou shalt not make spam. So, admittedly, spam can sell, but it actually doesn't sell in the long run. So, you'll be tempted to use spam, but your brand will really suffer from it long term. You don't want the public to remember your brand as annoying, obnoxious, sensationalist, sloppy, trashy, dishonest, or a bait and switchy kind of brand, even if those things sell initially for people. So just remember, just because it works this short term for your ad doesn't mean it's better in the long term for your brand. Nothing sells better than the truth, we think. So strive for honesty, don't overpromise and underdeliver. If you're truthful and believe in what you're selling and the way you feel selling it, the way you're selling it, your customers will feel that and they'll be more likely to buy from you. You can always get someone to buy once. Getting someone to buy a lot from you is trust, and it requires that trust.
Non-spammy ads.
So we're going to show you some spammy ads for risk of offending people. Here's one by Manscaped.
You always want to make sure you use the right tool for the job. Would you use a knife to split firewood? What about a blowtorch? Or would you chew at it like a beaver? No, you'd use an axe. And that's why when it comes to trimming your balls, use the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. It's the right tool for the job.
Head to manscaped.com and get the Lawnmower 3.0 today. For a limited time, get a free pair of Manscaped boxers, free shipping, and a free Shed travel bag.
Yep.
Makes me feel gross every time. It doesn't explain what Manscaped is until the end, and it's just repulsive.
It's just one of those things where it's like they're using really just crass tactics to get people's attention. And I will say, to defend Manscaped, they do have other commercials that are much clearer and much better at getting to the product. But this is a tactic where it put a bad taste in my mouth, and for other people, it's just like, it reminds me of the scene on Simpsons where Troy McClure, I don't know if anyone remembers Troy McClure, but he's like, sex! Now that I have your attention, I'm Troy McClure and I'm running for office. It's like, that's what it feels like. It's like they're just throwing these things out there that are just irrelevant to the product, but just there to get people's attention. It's kind of gross and obvious, so
Yeah.
avoid that.
All right, we're going to show you one more. It's just repulsive in a different way.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. It's fun to drive up here in the Hollywood Hills. But you know what I like a lot more than materialistic things? Knowledge. In fact, I'm a lot more proud of these 7 new bookshelves that I had to get installed to hold 2,000 new books that I bought. It's like the billionaire Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn.
In the garage. My biggest question is, why is your library in your garage, dude? Like, that seems like a bad place to
It
have
just
books.
seems like a really expensive Airbnb. Like, who would pay for that? Who would rent that?
You got like all these banker boxes full of books that you just put in this
Anyways,
Airbnb.
yeah, it left a bad taste in my mouth, and I hope it left one in yours too. I hope that your spam meter is strong. So just don't do spammy things.
All right. All right, so
Yeah.
we're going to take a break for some questions.
Any
Kent got
questions?
some for us up in the queue.
The biggest thing is there a way to actually film in 4.5, or do you just have to edit into 4.5?
So yeah, that's a great question. Is there any way to natively film in 4.5? I'm not aware of one on the iPhone or like the, what's the Android flagship phone?
The Android flagship phone.
The Pixel. I don't know of a way you can do it natively on the phone. We typically, if we're filming it on our phones, we like to just film in 9:16, so vertically. That's a less of a crop that if you film it horizontally, you lose a lot more off the side, so you have better resolution overall if you film it vertically. I don't think there's a native way to do that. I would just shoot vertically and shoot wider than you think, because it's always nice to have it be wider, especially now that phones can film in 4K. You've got a little like zooming ability. So even if you go too wide, you can always crop in a little bit and zoom in a little bit. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Do you frequently use music with these ads if there's no audio?
Do you frequently use music if there's no audio with these ads? Yes. Music is a great way to spice things up and to make it entertaining for people who choose to turn on the sound. Envato Elements, also Facebook audio library. YouTube has an audio library as well. Lots of free music there that you can use in these ads.
Yeah.
Any opinion on ScreenFlow as an app for editing?
So I've used the question is, do we have an opinion on ScreenFlow for editing? ScreenFlow is actually a pretty good app, especially if you're doing a lot of like your initial capture on your computer. Like if you have a software service and you're like showing tutorials of how it works, it's a fantastic app. As an editor bringing in other clips, it's not my favorite, but if you have experience and it is more powerful than like something like iMovie, if you have experience using that, it's great. If you haven't purchased it and you're like looking to do it, like something like DaVinci Resolve is going to offer you more for no money. But if you need it for screen capture to begin with, it's plenty suitable to edit in afterwards.
Have you ever had a problem with iMovie getting your audio out of sync with your video?
Have we ever had a problem with iMovie getting your audio out of sync with your video? I have. I've edited quite a bit in iMovie.
He's an iMovie pro.
I'm an iMovie pro. It's like the pro of the amateurs. I don't know. I mean, you just got to make sure that you don't split the audio from the video, or that it's aligned, that you have clear markers. Because with iMovie, you can move the audio and adjust it accordingly with the video.
I will say most of the time when people get into trouble with syncing issues, it usually isn't the editor that's the problem. It's a lot of times they're doing screen recordings using QuickTime on their computers, and QuickTime has a variable frame rate. And what that means is it'll actually change the amount of frames that it's recording based on what it's seeing. And if there's lots of information, it'll actually like speed up like the amount of frames, and so it like kind of ebbs and flows. And that actually, but your audio is recorded at a consistent rate. So as it speeds up and like slows down the number of frames, it'll get way out of sync. So if you are going to do screen recordings, I would recommend finding an alternative to QuickTime if you need the audio, because it oftentimes yields a pretty bad result and is very frustrating to deal with. It's like maddening in some ways. But ScreenFlow was mentioned earlier. That's a really great one. There's a couple others I'm trying to remember for screen capture ones that are good. You can even do it with Loom, which is an app that like is a web-based app. It's pretty good, but it doesn't have as many features as something like ScreenFlow. But yeah, it mostly comes from QuickTime.
Any other questions, Ken?
Yes, but just can you use the transitions from Envato in InShot?
Can we use the transitions from Envato in InShot? I don't know. I
So,
don't know if we've ever used those.
I think if you're talking about transitions from Envato, I'm thinking you're like talking about like a plugin for like transitions that you can put into like Premiere. I don't believe so. I might be mistaken, but they're usually plugins specific to the platform. So like they have to make ones for like After Effects or for Premiere or for Final Cut. And so I have never, and I've seen a lot.
You tell us, actually.
I've seen a lot of like plugins, and I've never seen anything that's specific to InShot. InShot has like their own store you can buy additional features for. It's like, you know, in-app purchases. And I would, my money would say that's the only place you're going to get additional features rather than bringing an outside plugin from Envato.
Do all of these tips equally apply to Pinterest, like 4:5 framing, all the other design elements?
Okay, they're asking, do all of these tips equally apply to Pinterest? No. I'd have to remember, so Pinterest 4.5, at least from our tests, it isn't what performs best on Pinterest. I believe it's 3.4, so it's even a little more vertical. I'll have to check with our ad buyers about that. These ads will work very well on Instagram and Facebook, and they can work well. Some of them can work really well on YouTube.
I would say there's a handful of ones that would work very, very well on Pinterest.
I just don't know all the specifics on that. Let me talk to our ad buyers, and I can message you.
But the actual content, what we're going to teach you how to craft and what we're showing, there are ones that we do know that will for sure work on a platform like Pinterest, where it's kind of like in that same mode of like Instagram, where they're scrolling really quickly and you need to grab their attention.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Last one.
Okay, last one.
Your good, better, best video editing software recommendations.
Good, better, best video editing software recommendations.
It's a great question. I think it all depends on your skill set. If you have some experience editing, if you've done iMovie in the past and you're feeling like limited by what it can do, I would jump over to something like Premiere or Resolve, because Premiere you can get,
Final Cut, which is actually the Apple higher version of of
the only
iMovie.
reason I was saying Premiere is because you can do a $10 a month subscription for just the one product.
Oh, right.
For just Premiere, and there's a lot you can do in just Premiere, and there is an enormous body of tutorials on YouTube to learn how to use it. Final Cut does have tutorials, but they're not as abundant, and you have to do it's like a one-time purchase of like $300. So it is a little bit more of an investment. So I would say our best for our company is Premiere, just of our workflow. Better would probably be Resolve, because it's has a lot of features and it's free. And then good would probably be Final Cut, just because if you're going to the next level, Final Cut, just because of the cost, and it's a little bit more of a learning curve.
Or InShot if you're just starting out.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what level you're at, but that'd be say if you're ready to move on from like the free stuff for iMovie to like in like the phone-based apps to a bigger like computer-based editor.
Okay, so let's hopefully we answered all your questions. Let's get to the ETA. So this is the first ad we're going to teach you of the 15 ads. We talked about it briefly with the webinar. We're going to go in depth here. So this is the Explainer Testimonial ad, or ETA. It's an ad that briefly explains your product or service, then transitions to 4 to 10 customer testimonials in text form, and then ends with a call to action end card. So although this formula seems simple, and for the most part it is incredibly powerful. It is witchcraft. We've been able to sell a ton of products and services with this ad, and it's a foundational ad where you can actually repurpose a lot of what we're going to teach you today in the other 15 ads.
Yeah,
so
this one will require probably hopefully not a ton of fresh shooting of material, and you'll have a lot of the stuff you can find on stock sites or pre-existing footage you already have.
Yeah.
So it's a good starting place.
it's a great starting place.
So, all right.
It works.
It works.
Okay, in fact, this ad has now driven over $4 million, we just tallied it, in sales for our clients. So just this ad alone, just this ad type, across services and products. So why does this ETA work so well? Well, recently we talked with the CEO of one of the most successful products on Amazon. He told us that there's a trend that shows that customers are ditching well-established brands in favor of new brands with more positive reviews. That's great if you're a new brand, right? You don't have millions of dollars to spend.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying it levels the playing field. People listen to reviews.
Yeah, and as Johnny and I were kind of stewing on this after we had this conversation with the CEO, this led us to the conclusion that oftentimes people trust people more than people trust big companies. So, I mean, just think about this. How often have you bought a product because a company was advertising to you and they told you to buy?
Now think, how often have you bought a product because a friend recommended it to you? Chances are you probably own a lot more of the products recommended by friends.
I definitely know that's the case with my wife. She gets a lot of recommendations from her friends. All right, so now we're going to show you what this looks like. We're going to watch an ETA for kind of a DIY security company at home called Cove. So let's go ahead and watch that example, and then we're going to walk through it and talk about the results they saw.
That's it. You can see we started with a brief explanation, transition to the text testimonials of customers, and then that CTA end card. So the results of this ad, we just looked them up this morning. For every dollar they spent in advertising, they got 4 back, drove multiples of 6-figure sales. So
Can't say the exact number.
we can't say it, but it was way over 6 figures.
Yeah.
By multiples. And they've been able to drive their service and product kind of business.
From this one ad. And we made a bunch for them. So they've had a lot of success with these different ad types.
So here's another example of an ETA we made for Lumi deodorant. right, so just a brief note here. So you'll notice that one had a little text before we explained what the product was. We call it a hook. It said, "Fact, teenagers reek. Lumi solves teenagers BO." So it's just kind of this fun little kind of intro to it. You can do that. It will sometimes help with catching people and making them click on the ad or keep watching. You don't have to.
Yeah, we didn't put it necessarily as a necessity in the instructions of how to build one of these, but we've seen people who have put those in there and seen better results. I think it just depends on the type of product you have and how you're selling it. But we didn't put it in there because we don't want people to get hooked, like kind of caught up on spending a lot of time and energy in the video and the hook and delaying showing the product. Like that's a really critical thing, is you want to tell the audience why they should give it, like, you know, they should care about what you're watching, what you're showing them, as quick as possible. So,
and I think actually a little specification. I think we wanted to classify that this ad was for teens too, so we wove that into that messaging into the hook too.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways.
So that ETA for Lumi has driven well over 6 figures in sales, and if I remember right, Johnny, this is the one that you edited with an intern.
Yeah,
if I remember right.
The power of intern is real.
So he basically just
pick them up at your local Best Buy or garage sales anywhere.
He basically just told him what to do, and he did it, and it was very, very inexpensive, and 6 figures in sales.
Yep. So although we'll teach you the ETA template we use internally, it's important to remember that there isn't just one way to make an ETA. So we're going to teach you a couple ETA variations that have worked well. The first one is the negative review ETA. This is an ETA that features negative reviews and then refutes them. So if people are hating on your product, you can use them to profit. So by calling out the negative reviews, it encourages tribalism for your brand and can cause lukewarm fans to be loyal customers. It is the best. For instance, we worked with a children's book company called Tuttle Twins that teaches kids principles of liberty, freedom, capitalism, stuff like that. As you might imagine, because it's a somewhat political product, there were some pretty angry people, saying, "Oh, this is like the worst, brainwashing kids, blah, blah, blah." So we use these negative reviews to our advantage, and this is the result of that ad.
So that ad has been wildly successful for them. That was something we made for them last year, and they're still to this day spending on it, being really, really successful. So it's a tricky one to message, but it's actually a really powerful, like if it works well for your product and for an audience that might be a little like polarized with like opinions, might be really, really powerful.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one. This variation is called the TA. This is the ETA without the explanation of your product. This can be really powerful to jump right into your testimonials. However, only consider doing this variation if your brand is already well known enough or simple enough to explain in a single review. So this is like a really good example here we have from an app company. It's called Calm. We're going to go ahead.
Meditation app.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and watch this. Okay, so the reason why that works
Put me to
so
sleep.
great. Johnny always falls asleep there. That works really well because all the explanations are in the reviews. It actually like has a use case of them using the app and then telling the benefit. And so you get very quickly what the app does and how it helps people calm down, or the benefits it receives of like listening to a story or listening to it, like, you know, makes them fall asleep or become less stressed. So really powerful, doesn't need an explainer, it jumps right into the meat and potatoes of why people love it.
And while we don't know the actual revenue that ad has driven, it has over 40 million views. And so doing the math, you're like, that is not a viral ad. They're spending money behind that. That means that ad is very, very profitable. That means it's probably driven millions of dollars in sales. So the other one, this is a little more, maybe less intimidating for some of you who are just starting out. It's called a slideshow ETA. So this is an ETA, but instead of using video B-roll, it uses product photography. So here's a company called Pros Hair Care. They use this slideshow version for their hair products. Let's watch it. All right, if you took our 10 commandments and you're like, you know, judging this ad, you would notice that it's very, very fast. You cannot read those twice quickly or once slowly.
There's two I couldn't even read once.
So shame on you,
Fast.
Pros Hair Care.
Think how many more views you could have gotten and more success.
But that being said, this ad has over 27 million views.
So they're doing something right.
And they're selling, you know, at least hundreds of thousands of dollars of product. So
Yeah, definitely.
good for you, Pros Hair Care.
So now the format we want to do, how we want to teach you each of these ads, we're going to go through the strengths and weaknesses of each of the ads. So let's talk about the strengths of the ETA. So the ETA is a powerhouse ad that works for both products and services. It can also work great as a prospecting and a remarketing ad. And you know, reviews are powerful tools that speak to people on a person-to-person level, and as a result, people trust them for the most part. They're also delivered in like layperson's terms, so it's not marketing jargon. So it feels more like a recommendation from a friend and more conversational. So it definitely adds some credibility in that sense. ETAs are great for services as well because they can visually showcase the satisfaction of your customers, as well as in text form saying how happy they are with the service. Another benefit of the ETA is that it only relies on text testimonials and not interviews of customers. This makes it much easier to craft your messaging without having to rely on a customer's performance. And you don't have to film anything, because filming a customer, if they're not great on camera, can be very challenging and frustrating.
It's awkward. It's really, really hard. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the challenges. The ETA is not necessarily an ad that will make your brand super memorable unless it's really funny, like that negative review one, unless you're able to just deal
But very rarely.
judgment to trolls. Yeah, but it's not super memorable. It can be challenging to make if you don't have a decent number of reviews already, but like we said before, you can get these reviews by soliciting them from your customers or family and friends. There's just a little bit of an upfront lift. Another challenge can be finding the right reviews that speak to your customer in a compelling and authentic way. You want to make sure these don't feel robotic, these feel authentic, and so it's finding those reviews.
Yeah, they're not all created equally. So now we're going to go through the workbook activities for the ETA ad. Johnny and I went through these activities and created an ad for one of our clients called Wise. As you watch these activities, make sure you write down any questions you have because we'll have time set aside for Q&As later. So here's how we did it. Let's move into activity 1. So for the first activity here on your ETA, you need to refer back to your research section to find your 20-second sales pitch. Now distill this down to one sentence, 2 sentences maximum. You don't want this to take more than 3 to 12 seconds of your ad. You just want to get this done really quickly. Ensure that this explanation of your product or service is specific and includes what makes your product or service differentiated. We've actually done this for a different one of our clients, for Wise. Wise is a smart camera company we've worked for. And we went through the research process and we created our 20-second sales pitch. And now Johnny and I are going to go look at that 20-second sales pitch and try and distill it down even more to a really tight, concise, one-sentence explainer.
Yeah, here's the 20-second sales pitch we did for WiseCam. Smart home cameras are expensive, costing up to $200. Wise is a smart camera that only costs $20. Wise has all the features of much more expensive cameras. Yeah, if we were to consolidate this, a lot of times you can actually weave in the problem into your solution.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to use our trusty friend copy and paste here. Wise is a smart camera that only costs $20 with features of much more expensive cameras, with all the features of much more expensive cameras. Let's say that.
And I'm wondering if we could bring, like, up here in the 20-second pitch, we've got the $200 up there. I wonder if we could integrate that into, instead of just more expensive cameras, what if we actually put a price point on that?
Oh,
With all the features of cameras costing $200, you know?
What about cameras 10 times the price?
Oh, yeah.
Just
Like
a
a
little
multiplier of the $20 price point of Wise.
Okay, so listen to this. Wise is a smart cam that only costs $20 with all the features of cameras 10 times the price. I wonder if we can make this even more like, hey, meet Wise.
Yeah, like having something that's a little bit more personable, like a little nicer.
What if we just called it the $20 smart cam?
Oh, yeah. Meet Wise, the $20 smart cam that only costs $20. No, that doesn't work. There it is, that is. Meet Wise, the $20 smart cam with all the features of cameras 10 times the price.
Okay, I love that.
So now we condense that down from 3 long sentences into one, like compact one that has basically all of what we had in the 20-second pitch into one sentence, just really tight and compact.
Yeah, you just want to make this as tight as possible so that when you go to the reviews, you just get to those as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
The reviews are what sells. The explanation at the beginning is what gives context for the reviews.
Yeah, and then all your reviews just back up all the claims and like what you put in your one sentence explainer. All right, we're coming back. We got one question at least. Who was that from, Kent?
That question was.
We'll just
Deb
end.
Schnitter.
Deb asks if the Lumi ad that we showed, how much of it was stock footage versus footage we shot in-house. So I'm going to defer over to Johnny on this one.
Yeah, I'd say at least 70% of that ad was stock footage. So a good idea is to mix up product benefit shots and product shots, right? Like we're saying in these videos. A lot of the product benefit shot of a deodorant is confident living. It's just like living, having activities you can do without being self-conscious. You can find tons of shots of people being confident on B-roll. A stock video site. So especially like if you have a service, let's say that you help people save money through managing their finances, you can show people living a stress-free life, going on vacations because they don't have the stress of that. Tons of images and videos like that on stock footage. So yeah, the other 20 or 30% of that was pre-existing footage that we'd already shot of Lumi products.
For previous campaigns, yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions, Kent? All right,
let's go on.
Let's move on to activity 2.
Moving into activity 2, the goal is to collect 20 customer testimonials or reviews that speak to your top value points. And then for this, you're going to refer to your research section. So it's everything you did there to get those top value points, and then put them in a spreadsheet. So referring to the research section, our top ones are definitely the great price for the value, easy setup, easy to use, security, pet monitor. We actually have some of these lower reviews that kind of fall under the umbrella of great price for the value and all the features.
Yeah, a lot of mentioned like specific features, like crazy it has night vision for this price, or like the cloud storage is so nice for the price.
So we'll probably throw in a couple of those, but just to save time, Shane and I have already collected some reviews, so let's go there. So we've collected those 20 reviews, and once again, you find those on Facebook, Google, Amazon, anywhere. If you don't have reviews for your product, you could seriously show it to friends and just like record their reactions, write out those reviews in text.
Yeah, exactly.
So the goal is abridge these longer reviews in order to highlight key phrases and keep them to one screen. So we go by an 80-20 rule generally, so 80% of reviews should fit in one line or less, and then the other ones can take 2 or 3 lines, but shouldn't be longer than that.
Yeah, and the reason for that, the emphasis on short, is remember these ads are going on Facebook specifically, so people's consumption pattern is they want information really quickly and digestible. And if you're showing them like a paragraph long review, they're gonna be like, really? Like bored. So you wanna make sure you have really tight, concise, really focused reviews for your potential audience to watch and read.
People don't read, they skim.
Yeah.
So let's go in this doc. Just browsing through this, let's see, 6 looks a little longer than we'd like. So it says, I literally received this camera less than an hour ago. Setup took maybe 2 minutes, if that. Took me longer to mount it.
And that's a really great review for one of our top value props. Why we put it in there is this easy setup. Like, it's a huge thing we saw. I think it was like 2 or 3 on our list.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really good one for how much he praises for it. But I think that the first half is not really relevant because it's like, I just barely got this an hour ago. So we could probably take out that whole thing. I do like the took me longer to mount it as a reference point. It's a good like reference point, you know, because it seemingly wouldn't take that long to mount.
Sure.
But I do think that sentence right there, so it took maybe 2 minutes, if that, is just perfect.
It's so
so tight.
Let's cut this here. So the review is now setup took maybe 2 minutes, if that. You know, if you have a review that's a little bit longer, you can cut out some of the middle of it as well. Use ellipses or just stitch it together. That's totally fine as well.
And honestly, sometimes we have to correct misspellings in reviews, like, or people that don't write the right synonym.
For clarity.
Just for clarity. So, and we feel perfectly fine about that.
Do that to Shane all the time.
Yeah, that's basically I run all my emails through Johnny.
Yes. Okay, and then let's see, browsing through 14 here. We love this tiny camera. We wanted something to keep an eye on our pets when we weren't here, an ability to see if our son gets up after bedtime. It can be very easy to set up nice picture, good sound for two-way sound. So this is just all over the place in what they're talking about. It brings up another point. Sometimes you just want filler reviews or just really quick, very concise reviews to intersperse between some of your more specific longer reviews. I think we love this tiny camera. Looks like a great sort of filler review.
Yeah, it's like it's very direct to the point. It's not specifically calling out a specific feature necessarily, but it's a very like powerful one. One we used on Lumi was Lumi is magic, right? Yeah. And that's a great one because it's 3 words and it's really powerful that people like, it catches people's attention.
Yeah. Okay, so the rest of them look pretty good. And that's it.
That's the end of activity 2.
All right, preguntas. You got any questions here?
Spanish for questions.
How did they change clothes so fast between scenes?
How do we change clothes so fast between scenes? Movie magic. Also, Shane is a professional clothes changer.
That's what it comes
Read
down
into
to.
that how you will. I don't know.
How do you handle the typos in reviews?
How do we handle the typos in reviews? I think you can handle them liberally. You can change it. I wouldn't tweak too many things that it becomes a different review, but you just want clarity.
If it's like a misspelling of a word, or they used like the wrong form of the word, we just correct it because it's like they're just, as long as you capture the essence of what the review is trying to say, I feel like it's fair game, and I don't think it's going to cause a problem. And I think what Johnny said spot on. If you misrepresent what the intent of the review was, then I think you kind of run into like, you know, trouble and just kind of like it's honestly a little shady. So we just always try and stick to the spirit of the review and what they were trying to say.
And you can cut out things. You can make it more succinct, you know. You have to in some ways to be able to fit these reviews to 2 or 3 lines.
Definitely. Other questions, kid?
Okay,
all right,
let's
move on.
So for activity 3, we're going to examine our 20 reviews, and then we're going to use a spreadsheet to rank the strength of each review. So rate these in 3 areas from a scale of 1 to 3, 1 being less applicable, 3 being most applicable in the following categories. So you're going to rank them in specific use case, how authentic they are, and how concise they are. And so concise has its own sort of scale. 1 to 15 words is considered concise, is considered, 3 on the concise scale. 2 is 16-25 words, and 1 is over 25 words. And now finally, multiply the scores of all 3, sort the reviews from highest to lowest, and select the highest 8 to 10 reviews.
Here's our sheet over here of all of our top 20 reviews that we pulled out that spoke to our value props. And we've already got all of these ranked, but we're going to go through one example to show you how we kind of do this and how we kind of measure each of these different categories of specific use case, authentic, and concise. So this one reads the best $20 you'll ever spend, hands down. So this one isn't necessarily a crazy specific use case outside of like it's showing like the value use case. So I would only say that's probably a 2 on the scale. And then authentic, I think that we usually think of it as like, how much does this sound like a real person?
Or a robot.
Or a robot, or like someone that's writing copy for a magazine, right? So for this, I feel like this is something you would say to a friend very conversationally. Oh, it's the best $20 you spend, hands down. You know, it's something you'd say to a buddy. So I'm gonna give it a 3 on that, in that size. And then concise, it is definitely under 15 words. Let's count them real quick, Johnny. 8
So we got
without the name. So that's super concise. So we go 3. So then multiply that out. That's a score of 18. So that's kind of like a baseline of how we kind of use these 3 categories to rank them. There's a little bit of like, you know, personal bias in there, and don't be afraid of personal bias. This doesn't need to be super scientific, but this is just to help you get like a good idea of how powerful the review can be for customers.
The next step is we're going to sort these from highest to lowest in that total score column there. So we still have 20 reviews. We can clearly see that some of them are stronger than others. But then the final step here before we sort of pick out our final reviews is if you have multiple reviews talking about the same value prop, consider cutting the ones that are less powerful. So let's just see if there are any that we can cut out. For instance, the top one, setup took maybe 2 minutes, if that.
So we'll go ahead and look for another setup one that mentions it.
10 here. It took about 5 minutes to set up. Yeah, that's less impressive and it's a little longer. So let's cut that.
Yeah, not a specific and a longer time that he states. Which, by the way, Johnny and I did this. We set it up. It only took 1 minute. We did it under 60 seconds.
Yeah, so 2 minutes.
Feel great about taking out that 5-minute one.
All I can say is, wow, let's see.
That's pretty good, but
I mean, easy to set up again. I don't feel like we need to hit that more than once, so I'm okay cutting that one.
oh yeah, that's a good point, because this one is tighter for easy setup for that value prop. So I think the best $20 you'll ever spend is a really good one for the price point. This one here, 8, fantastic camera regardless of the price. 1, it doesn't actually mention the specific price, and 2, it's kind of a confusing one because someone could take that as like, wait, what about the price? Like the person's trying to say, even though it's $20, it's awesome. You know, like it does a lot for $20, but that's not like as clear in his review.
It's not clear, yeah.
So I say we ditch that guy.
The video quality is as good as Ring or Nest video cams. So this is actually one that we might not do because of legal reasons. Sometimes even calling out other competitors' name brands in reviews can be legal gray area. So I think we're okay of probably cutting that one as well. Okay, so we've narrowed it down quite a bit. I think that's pretty good. Now let's look at the top 8 or so. So that would give us our 8 reviews that we're gonna use. We might even throw like a 9th one in there, we'll see. I like that we kind of target both men and women with this one. It's interesting that our data's told us that it's a male product, but I think more women will use it if we can highlight that. So
Definitely. These are our 10 reviews that we're gonna go with here, and now we're gonna use these to go into our next step.
All right, some questions. We got one from Kyle. He said, doesn't the misspellings kind of give it an authenticity of it in and of itself? It can, definitely. I would just be careful not to lose any clarity.
Yeah.
So you never want to lose the clarity. Clarity is what sells, but if you have a tiny word misspelling that's still clear, by all means, it's more authentic. It's more like, you know, we're just taking these from real customers.
Definitely.
Did I miss how you calculate the total score?
So on that, the question was of how do you calculate the total score? It's just multiplying those 3 different factors of I think it's concise, authenticity, and I'm trying to remember the third one now. It just escapes me. We basically have those 3 rankings that you are assigning a value on, like kind of off of your gut, and then multiplying those 3 numbers together to get that score.
Awesome.
All right,
okay, so let's go on to the next video.
Here we go, activity 4. So the first part of activity 4 says, put your 1-sentence explanation and testimonials into a script. Here at Harmon Brothers, we like to use what's called an audio-visual script format. We're gonna provide one of those in the workbook for a template for you to work off of, so you guys have it to start with. So what we wanna do is put it in that format, and then we're gonna flush out all the visuals that are going to go along with the text from the reviews that you just gathered. So we're gonna make sure to mix up those short and long ones as we go in ordering and the script side first. Before we get into that, we're gonna give you a couple guidelines of what those visuals should be and like kind of the mix of what kind of visuals you're gonna see.
This isn't a hard and fast rule, but if you're doing a product, have about 25% of those visuals be product shots. So just what are they gonna get when it comes to their door and they open it, right? 25% should be products in use or people using the product, and about 50% should show the people enjoying the benefit of the product. So just to give you an example of that, with Wise, product shot would obviously be a shot of the camera. A product in use might be someone monitoring, like a thief stealing a package. Now, if you're doing a service, you obviously can't distinguish between your product in use and a product shot. So it's going to be 50% product shots of service in action and about 50% of showing benefits to customers. So like for our carpet cleaning commercial for Zero Res, you might show some shots of somebody cleaning your carpets and then shots of a puppy wrestling a little toddler on a fluffy, clean mess of white carpet.
Yeah, because your product shots are the service in action, right? You can't really show the non-tangible part of it. So that's why you say 50-50 on that, product in action and showing a benefit to the customer. So now we're gonna go ahead and scroll down here to our template we've already built out. We've put them interspersed with long and short ones mixed in, and our one sentence explanation up top. So if you remember, our one sentence explanation was meet WiseCam, the $20 smart cam with all the features of cameras 10 times the price. We're just gonna go line by line here with our different reviews in that opener with that sentence, one sentence opener. Put in the visuals that we want in a wish list of the things we'd like to see while that text is on screen. This is essentially building a shot list. If you guys are familiar with that, it's basically all the shots you need to make your commercial work. So we're gonna go through and kind of say, what do we want here? Okay, so first I think obviously meet the WiseCam. I think the obvious thing there is having a really cool, like beautiful looking product shot, a sexy product shot, right? So cool. Then we're gonna go on to review number one. We love this tiny camera. Maybe that's because it is a smaller camera compared to other like competitors. Maybe we just have a shot where we see like the size a little bit, maybe in comparison to someone's hand. So maybe someone placing the camera down. Sure. That might be one that would be really, really good. The next one here, the setup took maybe 2 minutes, if that. This one, I think we should just get maybe a shot of the, like unboxing it out of the packaging, you know, just pulling it out of its packaging just to correlate with being set up.
So for the passive security section, great for keeping an eye on packages. I know Wise has tons of user-generated footage. So honestly, we could show somebody stopping a porch theft or something like that.
Totally. We'll get to all the places you're going to find this footage in a second, but that's a really good point that Johnny brings up is like we know they have a bunch of footage because it is a security camera, a smart camera, so we know they have that. Same thing with this next one here, pets. I love checking in on my pets while I'm at work, keeps them out of trouble. That's a really good one because they have tons of pet footage that we could use there, user-generated content. And trust me, pro tip, you don't want to record with animals. They're the worst. So if you can get footage from somewhere else, definitely get it from somewhere else.
So I'm just going to make a note, user-generated footage on both of these ones, if we have it. My husband and I love these cameras. It's been a bit since we've seen a product shot, so maybe just another product shot here.
Yeah. Monitor kids. This is one that I think we need to get something of like actually connecting the kids from the camera's perspective, like a smart camera's perspective, and then like connect it to someone like the mom of a family, like using it to check in on their kids, right? Like,
so actually kind of showing that I use the WiseCam to...
Simple shot you could just grab, put them on.
Yeah, just to demonstrate the value.
Yeah, it could be a still image, it could be an actual package, it could be 5 unboxed cameras, anything, just show 5, right? That's really easy to pick up really quick.
And then finally, the best $20 you'll ever spend, hands down. I think another sexy product shot could be good. Referring to the design section, we teach you about the call to action end card. Use that here. You can use that for almost every single one of these ads. So just reuse the same end card.
No need to do work over and over and over when you're making lots and lots of ads. Just use the same one. Alrighty. Okay. We got some good questions. There was a couple comments we wanted to address before we move on to those questions regarding just like, whoa, this is a lot of material, and we totally understand that. There is a lot we're trying to cram into these 2 hours to give you as much value as possible. All this is going to be available in the portal, as well as the like kind of the quick reference guides, as well as the like actual workbook, activity workbook. Those things will help you kind of digest it a little bit more. If I were to give you any advice of how to consume this course, I would just try and watch and follow without taking a lot of notes and without like doing anything on your own for your own product at this point. And more so just try and take it on a conceptual level. And then if there's anything you're listening to that like doesn't process, or you're like, I'm not sure how this would work, then ask the questions, because that way you're going to get benefit the most from the live portion of it versus like missing something that might be important because you're trying to like write notes furiously. All this is going to be available to watch again. All this is going to be able to like have access and additional helps for you. But the live portion is the only part you can only get on the live webinar. So just try and utilize that as much as you can going through this process.
Yeah. We got another question, Kent?
Deb Schnitt asks, how would you change these product
Okay, so Deb is asking for a digital offering, how do we change the product percentage shots? So a digital offering may not be per se a service, but you're definitely giving them still a product or something that they interact with a little bit. So, I mean, you could show product shots of an interface. You could show people using your digital product. You may need to lean more on the benefits of the product. I don't know what the digital product is, but if it helps people be more organized, if it helps them take control of their business or something like that, you might show those benefits as well. It may skew a little more towards the benefit because a whole ad with just screenshots I don't think would be as visually enticing. But yeah, find a good line I think for you. Okay, and finally we're going to go to activity 5. We're going to show you how we made the ad and how it turned out. Now that you've put together the shot list and everything, now it's up to you to figure out how you're going to get these shots. Some of them you may already have, and in fact, that's where we'd recommend you look first. So look through all the footage you already have and see what might work, in the visuals. Some of the criteria might be look for things that clearly show the benefit of the product being used by consumer.
Product shots, you can show them both like static product shots or the actual product in action and in use by the customer. One thing that you want to avoid though is try and avoid using footage from any previous campaign that has like any like highly branded elements like characters or like visuals that are a little jarring to your core brand. Just try and avoid those things altogether.
Like normally in branding you want to be memorable. With easy ads that sell, you can be bland. It's okay. I give you permission to be bland.
Bland but effective.
Bland but clear and money making. Second step is look for stock footage. If you have stock footage of your product online, good for you. But a lot of people will not. Where this can be helpful is actually finding some of the benefit shots. So for instance, with Zero Res, what we did was we looked for the benefit of having clean carpets, and we found like stock footage of kids playing with puppies on carpet. And that wasn't necessarily Zero Res carpet, but it represented the customer
benefit, right?
testimony and the benefit, yeah.
Yeah, the nice, clean, soft carpet and people enjoying their clean carpet by feeling comfortable to lay on it with kids and puppies, play games and stuff. So yeah, and there's tons of footage like that all over on Envato Elements, we talked about before in the design section. Really, really great resource to find stuff that just plugs and play. And like one less shot you don't have to record is like the faster you get to your ad that is running and making you money. You know what I mean? That's why these are easy ads that sell. You want to make this as easy as possible and get this product out quickly.
The final thing is, if you don't have any of that, both in the footage you have, even footage from customers, user-generated footage, or stock footage, just plan a simple shoot. You can pick up some of those shots and just make sure they're clear and simple.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be crazy lighting. We talked about this a little bit in the edit section and design section, but doesn't have to be crazy. Just like even an iPhone, or like any phone, just shoot the video simple and clean and clear is the most important part for sure.
And then finally, just add in, you can add some music, add in some brand colors into your text, follow those principles of design, and you're good to go.
Now let's watch the final product.
Any questions? None? Awesome.
Crickets?
So
Great, you guys-
now that you've
they got
gone, you know everything. You know it all. You guys should be teaching us. So now that you've gone through the research section, the 10 commandments of film, edit, and design, and the ETA instructional section, you are all primed and ready to go out and create your first ETA ad this week.
So the ETA is a really important ad type to master since we've seen so much success with it. And like we said earlier, it's a great like kind of starting point because it doesn't require a ton of filming or a lot of like pre-existing assets to make. So please go out and do that and send us the ads you're working on to eats@harmonbrothers.com before next week's webinar, because we really want to go through these with you. We're going to take a handful of examples that get sent to us, and we're going to break them down. We're going to walk through what works well on them, what could be improved, what's what would be like some maybe ideas that you could change on them. Any way we possibly help you make your ad better and start bringing you in money as soon as possible.
And guys, even if we don't have time to review yours live in the class, we'll make sure that we send you a video of us going through the review and giving you feedback specific to your product or service. So that's, I think, where a lot of this live value will come, is like, get us your ads. We'd love to give some like consulting help as part of this course.
Yeah, and as you send in those ads, please send a note as well, like, hey, here's my product and what I'm doing, who I'm selling to, who my audience is, as well as what are the struggles you found in marketing to this person. Is it a B2B play, so it's hard to do on Facebook? Is it because it's a non-tangible service and you're having struggle trying to make the value concrete? Let us know what you're struggling with, because that helps us when we're giving that live video feedback, either in the webinar or later on in the week. It helps us understand what we should be focusing on and how we can help like improve your ad and make it more speak to the points that you're struggling with.
And without further ado, get cracking, go start making some money.
Oh, we got
Last
one question
question.
that snuck in right underneath.
Buzzagogo says, OMG, what if our ads suck?
Buzzagogo, that's his name? He says, OMG, what if our ads suck? They will, probably, but you're gonna get better and better and better, and they will suck less because of this. So excited for that transformation.
Yeah, do not be self-conscious about sending us stuff, guys, because like we'll take everyone can come in at different levels. That's what we talked about at the beginning. Some people are going to be really seasoned marketers, and some people send in some like amazing ads. We're like, man, that feels so great, and it will definitely be effective, and they were. And some people were like, this is all I can do. Like one girl in our last live cohort we did, she just like had done a screen recording of her like typing stuff into
a keynote.
A keynote. Like it was just a screen recording. She typed it in and then she just like exported it. Like, and that was the whole thing. And you know what? Like it worked great. And I think she was self-conscious about it, but like it works great. We'll take you wherever you guys are at and help build where you're at to make you get up to a point where you're having an ad that'll be successful.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, you guys. We'll see you next week. Looking forward to seeing those ads.